gummy bear.
Hey everybody, welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about what it takes to bribe Sakurai into making another Smash Brothers. It's going to be a good one because we have John Martin on the show. John, how are you doing?
Jeff Grubb, I'm doing so well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I am constantly trying to juggle a bunch of things right before, I'm going to go on a little bit of a vacation next week. And so it's like trying to do a bunch of extra stuff and, one thing collides with another and, just trying to juggle all that, but feeling good still. Very excited about going up to Traverse and hanging out for the early parts of summer here. But beyond that, I'm also just enjoying some video games. I started Survival Kids on Switch 2, a game like one of the very few Switch 2 exclusives. No one's talked about it. I think it rules. I think it's kind of really awesome. It's just this really snappy, kind of streamlined survival game where, you're collecting pieces of wood and stuff like that. But so far it's been bite-sized islands where you have one goal on the island. You need to go through this process of just finding the wood, finding the rocks, finding a bunch of other stuff, food, vines, build a bridge. Do that a couple times, and then you get your raft that has crashed on the island, and then you go to the next island. And it just feels like you are blazing through progress. I'm into it. I'm kind of surprised no one's talking about it. So might spend some more time with that. Do something with it on the website. It has multiplayer, so it's I'm gonna force the guys to play it. We'll see.
That would be a lot of fun. Survival Kids is pretty cool. I tried it out on the Game Boy NSO app.
Yeah.
They had the Game Boy Color one. And I don't know if it's the same series as Lost in Blue, but I played that as a kid on the DS. I don't know if that's actually the same series, but survival games are just infinitely hilarious to see what kind of hijinks you can get into. I did not know there was multiplayer. That is, I guess they did show multiple characters. I don't know what I thought that was. Is it local and online or just online?
So there's online and local, but it also has support for Game Share, which is something I'm more and more interested in after we tested that. And it was my understanding going into it, John, was Game Share on the Switch 2 would be remote play on Steam or on PlayStation, where you're basically just sharing your screen, you're streaming that to someone else. And then we played it for Clubhouse games, and everyone had their own screen for poker. And it was no, you're I honestly don't even, I'm not positive how it works. Is it streaming data from my Switch 2 that had Clubhouse games, or I think it was Dan's, to us, or did each of our Switch 2s download a little client or something like that? It was so seamless and so quick. I don't know. But I have the kids, and they've been playing a ton of Minecraft. And I'm Survival Kids feels like one that maybe we could have, a good week with or something like that. So I'm going to try that out with them. But it's I've been looking for the game share option for online play, and I can't find that. I'm do I have to go into online mode first? And then maybe Game Share becomes an option in a new menu there. I would like to do that because I think I have Survival Kids, and I don't think Dan or Mike or anyone has it. So, yeah. So far though, it's just been really neat to play on my own because again, that snappiness where it just immediately. I also started Fantasy Life I a little bit ago.
Oh, yeah. What do you think of that? That's been something that's been on my radar and is. I was thinking of using some birthday money to pick it up. What do you think of it?
So I'm started with the angler class because I'm fishing. I love fishing in a video game, and I since then have gotten some pointers from people who love this series. Be start with a combat class first, so that you have a weapon that's decent. And then you could do one of those other fun collector ones. So it's okay, I'm gonna maybe go to Archer or something like that. But it just has a slower start. That's the thing. It's it's just a little bit of a slower start. You're gonna have to build up through the introduction of a lot more mechanics before you get to the meat of the game. And nothing wrong with that. But by comparison, Survival Kids is just I feel like I was immediately into the loop, and the loop was working for me. So I might spend more time with Survival Kids first, and that It's on Switch 2. I'm looking for a reason to play the Switch 2. I started Fantasy Life before the Switch 2 came out on the Steam Deck, so that's where I was playing that. So it's like,
gotcha.
Yeah, the game no one else is really talking about. I'll get in there. We'll make something with it. Should be pretty fun. How about you? You playing anything right now?
Yeah, I've been playing a whole lot. I got into Magic the Gathering, which is a horrible thing to get into because the Final Fantasy cards are so good. But I've been playing that tabletop. And then I've been kind of just juggling. I also have the Switch too. I've been trying to finish Final Fantasy X. I'm like pretty close to the end of the game, I feel. I think I can sense things like wrapping up. We got some plot twists going on. But yeah, and then Mario Kart World, Street Fighter 6, Hitman. Yeah, I just any excuse really to use my Switch 2 has been good. And Tears of the Kingdom 2. I'm totally sunk back into it. A game I've already spent like 125 hours in. It feels it's crazy how much
it's crazy.
Like it's a fresh experience. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's again, I've said it before, but just that the weirdest graphical improvement ever of being so used to this game I spent 150 hours with, just accepting that this is what it looks like and not really even having a problem with it anymore. I would almost bristle, John, when I would hear people on podcasts be like, well, I would play Zelda, but the frame rate. And it's like, look, I get that. I've done that voice for so many games before. And of course, I'm a Nintendo mark for sure. I get it. But boy, those Zelda games did not really hurt for any of its performance issues. And yet, in 60 frames per second, it is just astounding. It's crazy. And it's so sharp with the resolution as well. It's, yeah. I don't know if those upgrades are worth $10, but whatever. I'm glad I got it with expansion pass. Don't have to think about it all that much. All right. Let's explain ourselves. Go to giantbomb.com/join, and that gets you ad-free versions of our shows. It supports us in what we do here. We appreciate everyone that's come out to do so. You get that. You get some extra goodies. I'm like looking for times to this week still to record something really quick. It can be for premium members only, maybe next week while I'm out. But at the very least, you are going to be helping us do cool stuff like the new shows that we have on Monday. Monday Mornings Missed with Mitch, which was a fantastic time. It's such a good time that even when I am in Michigan, even though this crew all the time is like, if you go on vacation, they're like, just go on vacation. Don't call into work. Don't do anything. I still might try to sneak into next week's Monday Morning Miss with Mitch so I don't miss anything. Like the whole idea is I want to see this game with Mike, and we're kind of playing it together, and it's been good to just like throw ideas out and let Mike go run wild with it. We get to do shows like that because you go to giantbomb.com/join. So thank you everybody who's done so. We really appreciate it. Other quick notes, that we're running a top games of the century poll right now. If you are interested in voting in that, there is a link on the website, and I put it on Blue Sky and stuff like that. But it's a vote happening here on Giant Bomb, and I think you just got to be a member of the website. You don't have to be a premium subscriber or anything like that. But you get to vote, and we're gonna get the results of that. And I was talking to Marino, who set this up. Shouts out to Marino. I think we're talking about posting the results of that on July 4th when we're all out. So go ahead and check it out then. In the meantime, you could share your list on social media and let everyone know. Come here to vote. Although, if you don't want to do it that way, that's fine too. It's cool just to see people's lists. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the show with, there's a report that Sakurai asked Nintendo for Kirby Air Riders as negotiation for him to make another Smash Brothers. This is from My Nintendo News. A rumor is doing the rounds online that the talented Masahiro Sakurai negotiated with Nintendo to produce the new and upcoming Kirby Air Riders game. The rumor from Kiwi Talks, who's a leaker, had stuff before, who knows, states that Nintendo wanted Mr. Sakurai to produce another Smash Brothers game for the Nintendo Switch. As he was burnt out on the franchise after developing the comprehensive Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, he said he would only do it if he was able to produce another Kirby Air Riders game. The rumor stems from a Twitter account which has been posting a lot of Nintendo-related rumors lately, though it should be taken with a grain of salt. John, I don't know. That sounds right to me.
Yeah, I mean, Kirby Air Ride, I don't think was ever like the biggest GameCube game. It's one of my personal favorites.
Sure.
But I mean, you gotta imagine Smash is always a priority for Nintendo. It gets butts and seats. It gets people to watch directs actively, see who's coming. But yeah, I think that does make sense to me. And I don't know how people would know that because I feel like with Sakurai, you kind of have to put a black veil to get him into like a negotiation room or something. But yeah, I mean, that does make sense. I'm personally really excited about Kirby Air Riders. I'm excited to see what he does with that. Is there going to be more combat in the game? But yeah, you got to imagine that the next Smash game is at least in heavy, like the heavy design phase right now.
Right. Someone somewhere is thinking about it at least. I think part of this rumor somewhere, someone said that it hasn't entered like pre-production yet, but I bet someone is thinking about it over there on that team. As far as like, hey, one for you, one for me, Sakurai feels like he's got that leverage at Nintendo. Like Nintendo's desire for Smash Brothers is the easiest thing in the world to understand. It'll be, I don't think we get another Nintendo system ever without a Smash Brothers on it as well. It is one of those franchises that will have one entry per console for the rest of time. And we know that they're not in a situation yet where Sakurai feels good about handing it off to the next team because he's like, I didn't do enough to train up that crew last time because I was so hands-on. Hopefully he takes this opportunity to kind of do that for his sake. Like, so he doesn't have to be the one to come back and make another one after this. I hope that he can use this opportunity to train some people and kind of feel comfortable to step away next time. But yeah, what do you expect from a Smash Brothers on Switch 2?
Oh boy, expect is definitely a hard topic, especially when you're thinking about Sakurai, how he likes to not only iterate on what he's done before, but also kind of innovate in that field. I don't know how much it bothers him that the original like 12 Smash 64 characters or the Melee cast have kind of remained the same for so long. We've gotten like minor changes here and there. But I got to imagine that as the DLC of Smash Ultimate and like Smash 4, those base roster characters, they're so much more mechanically deep than those early characters. You got to imagine that, Mario does so much more than he did back on the N64. And I mean, Bonanza's coming out and Donkey Kong still is kind of just like, yeah, I'm big and I have like big reach and I punch good. I feel like they could make him a lot more mobile, make him a lot more fun. And then, yeah, I mean, you kind of need to double down on those crazy guest characters to bring in. So there's always conversation about like who people want. I didn't think there was really a lot of people you could add after the end of Ultimate. Right. There was just so many fan favorites, but then like the years go on and it's just like, oh, it would be cool to see like a Dark Souls character or like Ichiban and Kasuga. Now that like Yakuza's on Switch, there's a million Capcom, a million other characters you could put in there. What would get you the most excited for a new Smash game? It's a hard question, but
yeah, it's tough. For me, I don't know. I don't need much. Smash Brothers is a game I like on again, off again in a lot of ways. Where when I'm on, it's definitely something I'm into, and then when I'm off, it's not something I'm thinking about all that much. But yeah, I mean, for me, I just want the cast of characters to stay broad. I do want it to be like to have as many possibilities as it can. Which is always like, oh, that does put it in a weird place because does that mean that this has to be bigger than Ultimate? And it's like, that doesn't feel like a great place to start if you are doing like what you originally described, John, which is like, let's go and take Donkey Kong's moveset and rethink that. It's like, if you're going to do all of that on top of reintroducing or bringing along all of the characters. So it's like, I think I'm of the opinion that if I were Nintendo, I would be having that team over, I think it's Bandai Namco that helped them, working with a Nintendo producer that has worked with Sakurai on like in this moment on a Smash Brothers Ultimate Deluxe that maybe has 2 new characters. It doesn't need a lot. But like just all of the DLCs included, all that stuff, just do it that way. And that's, you release that early on, and then you let, if you're going to bring back Sakurai to do this all again, you let him do something that does set up the future of that franchise. So the next step, and you let him take a long time to get that done. So I think if we get that, excuse me, dual pronged approach there of let's get the deluxe version of that game, which already is essentially the most deluxe version of Super Smash Bros. 4 in a lot of ways. It's a huge improvement over that, obviously, but still, I think like that didn't hurt Mario Kart 8. You do that, and then you let Sakurai cook for 5 years, 4 to 5 years. I'm fine with that. I would kind of welcome that.
Yeah, Ultimate was so much of the pinnacle of everything that was before it. Like, I think having an Ultimate Deluxe with a couple new characters to kind of satisfy the people who just want a little bit more is great. But like you said, like ushering in a new generation, like if they did like cut the roster in half, focus on the new core cast of Nintendo characters plus some big guests, I think that would be good. And also just like for the future, I feel like no one, not get away with it, no one can really do that but Sakurai, because if it's a new like if it's a new like leader and a developer base, like it's going to be hard to like get around that backlash. But with Sakurai's backing, like I think that is a easier pill to swallow for a lot of people. I'm personally fine with the smaller roster. Honestly, my eyes hurt when I'm looking at stages and I'm looking at characters in Ultimate sometimes. So as cool as all of those characters are.
Yeah, it's a lot for sure. I am, into whatever Sakurai wants to do aside from Smash Brothers as well. So him like using this opportunity to be like, let me make another Air Riders. I love that. That rules. I think he did something similar to get Kid Icarus Uprising made. I think there was rumors around that as well. So it's like, do this.
I would love that.
Me too. It's like you love these games that you've worked on. You want to do right by them or update them in various ways. And Air Riders feels like one that really is due for that. If there is this like angel over its shoulder in Sakurai, that's a game that had nothing wrong with it, but definitely kind of got lost in the shuffle at the time. Now it feels like it has a chance to kind of pop off and really establish a long-term legacy, and I bet Sakurai loves that idea.
Yeah. All
right, Mario Kart World patch makes it harder to have a standard 3-lap race online. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC.
Why?
Nintendo. Mario Kart World has received a patch that makes it harder for players to have a standard 3-lap race online. The game is split into 2 types of course: the traditional lap-based courses seen in previous Mario Kart titles, and what's become known by the community as intermission courses, where players spend most of the race traveling to the new track, then completing a single lap on it when they get there. It's become understood among the community that intermission courses are an acquired taste. While some players like the way they integrate the game's open world, others feel they consist of too many straight, wide roads and prefer the traditional 3-lap setup. Each of the 30 tracks in the game has a 3-lap variant, as well as a number of intermission courses, which start at that track and end at any of the connecting ones around it. This makes for a total of 232 courses, 30 of which are the traditional 3-lap ones. When playing an offline versus race, players get to choose any of the 30 tracks in the game, at which point they can choose the track's standard 3-lap course or any of its possible intermission courses. Like you get a list or whatever, and you can choose what it connects to. In this way, players who don't like intermission courses can theoretically avoid them by only choosing 3-lap versions. During online versus races, however, players are only able to choose between the 3 intermission courses to vote for or a random option. And as we were talking about this, John, I'm like, is that right? And you were explaining, that's for like the matchmaking version of online. If you are playing online with randoms, or you're taking your one local player online with you, and you go into the random matchmaking mode, you get the 3 courses and random. Now, if you're in a friend room, you could still press plus to go to change, select your course, get the 3-lap variant that way, which is the way I've been playing a lot of it recently. So that's why I'm like, is this actually a problem? Okay, I see what was happening here. So a lot of what was happening is a lot of people were like realizing this, and you'd get into these rooms of a lot of people who are super into Mario Kart, and they all kind of began passing around this meme so that even without the voice chat in a random matchmaked version of Mario Kart World online, everyone was selecting random because that would give you the 3-lap version of a course. And so it's like, hey, yeah, we'll do it that way. That no longer works. So it's like, and Nintendo took that out in the patch. It's like now that's going to give you or at the very least, it might mix in those 30 courses that are 3-lap variants with a bunch of the intermission versions. So you're very likely to get, intermission, is that what they call them? Yeah, the intermission variants of those courses. Yeah. So, John, obviously there's a good reason for this. Could you tell me what it is?
They want to show off their big open world that they spent like 6-7 years making, which is understandable. I mean, my mind kind of like blows up when you say like, oh yeah, the 232 courses in this game. And there is validity to that, especially so close to the opening of the Switch 2's lifespan. It is just a bit weird to me that you would remove functionality so close to the beginning of the game when I feel like there are people who don't like Mario Kart World as much as not even just 8 Deluxe or just past games in general. I'm having a good time with it, but yeah, this doesn't really make sense to me at all. I feel like variety is, the essence of life. So I don't know what the deal is here.
Well, Nintendo's like, we're giving you variety, 232 courses. Come on.
That's valid, and half of them are going to be highway scenes where you're just getting run over by cars because everyone has a vendetta against Mario Kart in the Mario universe. I don't know why, but yeah, to the credit of the 232 courses, I guess it's fun for the first time, a couple times you do it, and Knockout Tour, everything is constantly switching up. But when we have game modes to do, Knockout Tour Online, and I guess, is it just generally called Versus Online?
Yeah, it's Versus mode, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why we don't just have Classic mode. Maybe that's something they could add later. And just having those 3, 4, 5-lap courses in a row, like a Grand Prix, it's weird. I don't know. I don't know. Are you going online with randoms
not much,
or is?
No, yeah, I mean, I will. I'm not opposed to it. I've done it, but in this moment at least, if I put a room code into the Discord and then on Blue Sky, the room's going to fill up. That's happened the last several times. So, and it's fun to see names in there. You were playing the other night, and a lot of people. Peter Spitek was playing. We got some cool people just coming, popping in the room, and it's that makes it even better because it's these are people I know. And on top of that, we have a little bit more control over what we do in this. So I've been enjoying that way of doing things. I don't hate the routes, as Chad is pointing out. They're actually called not intermission courses.
Okay. That makes sense.
I don't hate the routes, but I do, again, bristle at Nintendo's sort of weirdness here. Of being hey, we have this idea that is going to add so much variety to this game, so much flavor that we can undermine other things because this is so important, because this is what's going to make this game last for 10 years and the way Mario Kart 8 did. This is us thinking long. And it's well, you didn't think long with Mario Kart 8, and yet it still lasted for 10 years. So what do you think happened there, Nintendo? And I would be interested to hear their response. My guess would be well, I don't know. We just don't know. But when we try to do it, we're going to really lean into that. And it's I think that's the problem. Don't lean into it. I made that, during GB at Night, the comparison to Starfield, which I think is actually still apt they saw this last game last for a decade. And so they built this new game in a way that they're let's think about how it's going to last for a decade and really build tools around that. And it's you need the fundamentals, the foundationals first. And, it's Mario Kart, still plays fun, so it does have a lot of that. But some other stuff was sacrificed in the name of building a game that could be this thing that could last for a long time. And I just think we're all looking at it and be no, I think you're missing the mark because you are imagining a scenario in which you need to facilitate that. Your fundamental gameplay is the reason we keep coming back. Just give us a lot of content. And not don't fake it with these weird combinations. I mean, you can, again, it doesn't bother me, the routes, but it just feels like Nintendo is misunderstanding their own success a little bit, which is a common thing. It happens. And it's not like it's a bad game. It's just one that has some weird choices that I don't think fully contribute to making it the best Mario Kart it could have been.
Yeah, for sure.
It is going to last for a long time, though. Like, do you think in a year or two, we look back and be like, oh, yeah, remember when we only had those modes and they add a bunch of other modes? Or it's Nintendo. Like, there's a chance they don't do that. I mean, I don't know. What are your expectations there?
I mean, my biggest expectation for this game is to become a little bit more live serviced. And maybe that's just wishful thinking on like, how are they going to live up to the $80 promise of Mario Kart World? But yeah, I mean, there's just some weird areas in which there's not a lot of content. Like we still only have 2 battle modes. I think it's coin runners and balloon battle. And yeah, I mean, like some characters like Donkey Kong and Pauline like only have 2 costumes. I'm assuming the game plan is to kind of bring in new content over time, a la Splatoon, I guess ARMS to an extent, and just build it up that way. Whether it gets to the point in 2 years that we're going to completely forget about this, who's to say?
You're right.
I'm just interested to see how they build out the world, see what content comes.
All right, we're going to take a break here in a moment. If you want to miss out on these ads, if you're like listening to the podcast version, go to giantbomb.com/join. Join there. You can avoid these ads. But since you didn't do that, we're going to go to that right now. We'll be right back after these messages. All right. John Martin, I'm Jeff Grubb. It's Game Mess Mornings. John, I almost left the intro video on, so we would have had to start the show all over. Those are the rules. So that music starts playing again. But I fixed it. It's always weird because it's like I did this show, where I was kind of live producing it while hosting it for a very long time. And for the last couple of months, Jan's been doing it because when we were doing the Power Block thing at the old place, it was like the idea was he was going to live produce, and that kind of just continued as we started this initiative. And so it's like I'm rusty, and I also like had to reset my OBS so I don't have all the scenes. I'm like, how did I even do this before? It's amazing how unlike riding a bike this has been for me, where it's like I just didn't use it, so I lost it. But show's going good so far. Let's get back into it. Night Dive Studios apparently working on a new remaster to be announced at QuakeCon. This is from My Nintendo News. The hardworking and immensely talented folks over at Night Dive Studios are apparently hard at work on a new remaster, which will debut at QuakeCon 2025 in August. The news was disclosed during Giant Bomb EX Quick Look at System Shock 2 Remastered. That's right. Night Dive Studios basically was on the show yesterday. I was playing System Shock 2 and talking to Larry Cooperman and Steve Kick over there, who is the studio head. And they were answering all the questions I had for them, and I just think they were super delightful. But then I think Steven was like, hey, we'll have something new at QuakeCon like we have for the last several years. So that's exciting because that, it could be a couple of things, could be something completely out of left field, but either way, it's like probably something newsworthy. And then Larry said they would also have something at Gamescom. So Night Dive, one of the busiest remaster houses out there, going to have more stuff coming. I really do. I mean, I admitted on that video, I'm a huge Night Dive fan. So anything that they want to work on, I'm very excited about. I really do hope we eventually get Daikatana. I would love to see Night Dive fix Daikatana.
Wow. But people love it. People already love that game.
You're right.
There's
you're
like
right. It's a
so many people
beloved
who say
classic.
they love it.
Oh my god.
Of course.
I was. It was like that was getting sabotaged at Summer Game Fest, where people would come to the house and hang out, and then we'd get done at night, and I'd go out in the backyard and see all the familiar faces, and I'm usually pretty zapped at that point. So for a while, I'd go eat and kind of sit in silence for a little bit. But then I would hear like, Grubb played through the whole thing, but you think the game was good. And I'm like, motherfucker. And they're talking about Daikatana. And then inevitably they would turn. It was like, it would be H-Bomber guy going to be like, no, I think the game's pretty good. And I'm like, H-Bomber guy, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. But then we would talk about it. It's like, we actually agreed on some of the things. Like, at the end of the day, I like that when I shoot some weapons, sometimes they hurt me and when I'm underwater. That's the bullshit that I'm into. It just wasn't actually very fun to play. However, I have no idea what to expect from Night Dive next. Either way, I'm just glad that they seem to be getting a consistent stream of work, because boy, they deserve it, right? Just those games, the Night Dive games that they work on, it's not like a lot of these other companies. Not that I don't have an affinity for a lot of the other ones that do similar work, but no one really has much to say in terms of complaints about Night Dive's work. They always seem to get it right, which I love.
Yeah. No, I mean, one of the first games I installed on my Switch 2 was the Doom 1+2 remaster remake. That game just looks incredible.
Yeah.
It sounds incredible. The attention to detail is like immaculate. That's how I first beat Doom 64. And the thing remastered was them, right? Like that.
Yes, it
That
was.
was so good. I am all for a studio who brings back games that kind of were under the radar and people are looking for, a similar type of game, and it's just awesome. I love seeing retro classics brought back. Yeah, do you have any theories for QuakeCon? Because I personally would think like a Wolfenstein 1+2 would kind of be cool. I don't know if they touched a Wolfenstein game before.
Yeah,
though.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's tough to say for me, because it's like when we were talking, they mentioned they've done like something like 120 games. I'm like, okay, so man, they've got so many that that don't even come to mind. Like I'm not sure what is left on the menu for them to choose from that relates to id Software or whatever. And I suppose could be QuakeCon, maybe it could be tangentially related to id, but probably not. So yeah, I'm not sure. Wolfenstein is a completely fair guess. Even like beyond like 1 and 2, like there's a lot of like Wolfenstein games, like even like the Raven Soft one, like that's one that could like
Xbox one.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple there. It's like they could bring that back, and people would appreciate it. They did mention, their white whale. No One Lives Forever. They brought that up again. Something they've talked about a bunch in the past. And yes, they still are. It sounds like they're still hunting that one down and trying to make it happen. So eventually, StarCraft Ghost. There we go, Grant in chat. Yeah, they're gonna get StarCraft Ghost and finally finish that. That would be fantastic.
How much work would you need to do that?
Who knows?
That's a pull. That is a pull.
All right, let's get to the Tommy Tallarico news segment. Amico releases some of its games on Switch and Steam, insists a console is still coming. Of course, Tommy Tallarico no longer involved in the Intellivision Amico. This story comes from Chris Scullion at VGC. The company behind the much-delayed Amico console has released some of its games on Switch and Steam, while insisting the plan is still to release the console eventually. Originally announced in May 2018 by Intellivision, the Amico system, which focuses on cheap, family-friendly games, was originally due to launch in October 2020. In case you haven't noticed, it's not 2020 anymore. But subsequently saw multiple delays. The company even started selling 8 of its box-to-launch games in October 2021, despite the console not yet having a release date. What an insane thing to do. In November 2023, Intellivision said it no longer had the funds needed to produce the consoles, and so launched Amico Home, a mobile app allowing iOS and Android users to buy games that were originally planned for release on the Amico console. Last year, the company sold the Intellivision brand to Atari, renaming itself Amico Entertainment. That's right, I keep saying Intellivision Amico. It's not Intellivision Amico anymore. Atari would receive the Intellivision brand and software library, but the Amico console was not part of the deal. Now, Amico has announced that it still plans to release the console, but that in the meantime, it just released 2 of its games on PC and 3 on Switch. Stunt jumping game Evil Knievel and platformer Finnegan Fox are available on Steam and the Switch eShop, priced at $15. Motion-controlled sports game Cornhole is also available on the Switch for the same price. The Amico, John, the library of games that were announced from it, reminded me of the scene from Vegas Vacation where they go into the weird casino and there's games like War and Guess the Number and like Pick Which Hand and stuff like that, like the most generic, weird back alley games. And that's always what this library felt like. So the idea like Cornhole is their big, let's put that on Switch 2 game. God, that's amazing. Oh, what? Like this is just them like, hey, we have these games, let's put it out. Amico's never really coming out, right?
Yeah, I mean, with kind of a track record of fumbled legacy a la Tommy Tallarico himself, kind of cursed this. It's weird. It does remind me of a situation where like all of these like Android based consoles were like in the wake of the Ouya, or like people following Stadia. Like there is a track record of things announced that don't pick up any momentum whatsoever.
Yep.
This kind of seems like that.
Yeah, and and Amico did have some like weird fans, but it never had enough to like break through in the way, like, the idea was games are too complicated, the controllers are too complicated, microtransactions, blah, get them out of here. We're just gonna sell you cheap small games that run on the system. You get this like basically phone attached to the Amico or something like that you use to control the games, and then maybe there's some controllers, or maybe use your own phone to also play the game. It's like, okay, so you're trying to do like the family console thing. You are aware Nintendo still exists, and Tommy would be like, yeah, but that has all the complicated stuff. So like the pitch never really won anyone over that was actually in that target demo of families. It was a long way from even getting their attention. As far as like everything else went, it always kind of felt a bit like a joke. Now that said, I'm gonna make everyone on this website play cornhole. We're gonna do it. I'm gonna make them buy it. We'll expense it to the giantbomb / Definitely Inc. and we will play cornhole for everyone's entertainment. Yeah, looking forward to it. Actually, I gotta see what some of those games look like. I also I think there was one just called like Dolphin, and you were just like a 2D dolphin. Like I gotta see
the
some
Echo
of this
reboot
shit.
We needed.
Exactly.
Hooray!
Yeah. I gotta see it for myself. All right. The Outer Worlds 2 has been developed with help from Halo devs. This is from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. I find this story just interesting for a couple reasons we'll get into. Later this year, The Outer Worlds 2 will take players to a distant colony world called Arcady, where they can shoot their way out of trouble with a new assortment of weapons. According to the game's director, Brandon Adler, Obsidian Entertainment knew the sequel needed to be a significant improvement over The Outer Worlds. To achieve that goal, the team turned to the developers of Halo for advice. We talked to the Halo folks, Adler tells The Guardian. They gave us a huge list of stuff and said, you guys should target this. You should add that to your weapons configurations. Adler also says that Obsidian did a full breakdown on Destiny because we love how the gunplay felt. Adler notes that the sequel doesn't have loading screens before entering buildings like its predecessors. Ooh, I like that.
Huge.
Yeah, it's like actually that perks me up. I'm like, ooh, something about that just tickles the brain. And the weapons have been revamped with fresh options and customizable features. We didn't want small changes, continues Adler. Every weapon feels very different. Every weapon has a cool, unique purpose. You could even take those weapons and add mods onto them, do all kinds of crazy things. Yeah, I think something Dan said about this, where he's like, after Avowed, he's much more interested in The Outer Worlds 2. And then hearing this, it's like, yeah, it does sound like they're trying to put the juice into their combat the way they did with Avowed. Now, some people didn't like the combat in Avowed. I thought it was awesome. I thought it felt incredible. Yeah. Like one of the key things that kept me back, like coming back to that game, is felt good to hit dudes with stuff. And then the magic system was awesome, and then the guns were like pretty good.
Yeah.
Were they Halo Destiny good? I don't know, but if they're working with Halo devs now, yeah, it sounds good. My first question to you is, does that sound like something that could make Outer Worlds 2 like kind of go to that next level?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not a multiplayer game, so there's a little bit more like, I don't know, there's not as much pressure to get the gunplay perfect, but I mean, when you're talking about like creating these wacky style weapons, like being able to like customize and really like delve deep into your build, like you fully like create this character and you're living in that world. I think that's a really good call. Halo and Destiny both have great gun feel, so as long as it's fun to shoot things and explore, like I think this is definitely a win for Obsidian.
And then it does seem like this is a more common thing at Microsoft right now, of we have these teams with institutional knowledge. We have these other teams that are working on games that could benefit from that. Let's get these crazy kids to get together. And we've heard that story a couple times before. I think I can't remember exactly in the past like what the combination was, but I do believe like id helped out on the shooting in the game before, things like that. And it's like, yeah, you bought all these studios, you have all this information. Sony has done this to great effect, where it's like they have learned lessons at like Naughty Dog, and then those lessons get applied kind of across their games. Maybe in a way that's a little bit too uniform for my taste, where it's like there's going to be that companion character telling you how to solve puzzles in every Sony game because someone discovered people play more of their game if they do that, and so that's best practices now over there. But whatever, they're right, and I think that the Halo devs, for all of the problems that 343 has had with Halo recently, I don't think the way it feels to shoot things has been a problem. I really liked shooting things in Halo Infinite. It felt great. So take that knowledge, use it in Outer Worlds too, and really make it stand out. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So do you think this is something that like is going to continue to happen at Microsoft? Is it an easy enough thing to pull off for them to get these teams to collaborate with one another? Especially like, 343 is seems like it's in a bit of a mess. This is a distraction. Like, do you think this can work going forward?
I mean, I really hope so. I know when the Obsidian acquisition, or rather the Bethesda acquisition happened, a lot of people were clamming for a Fallout New Vegas. I don't think that necessarily like needs to happen, because Obsidian having their own ideas is just what makes Obsidian.
Absolutely.
But I would really like to. Like I was really clamoring for like a Spyro or a Crash game from Toys for Bob, or just like bringing Banjo to another studio. Yeah, I think it should happen. Like kind of creating that like communal hive mind. This is how we improved on this. This is how we innovated on what you did. And like you said, I mean, like PlayStation has been doing this for a while. I mean, like Death Stranding is literally made on the Horizon engine, so they clearly have found a winning formula there. Seems like Death Stranding 2 is good, but yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just kind of a matter of will we be able to communicate these ideas and not make anyone's jobs redundant in the future? That's kind of a concern for me.
I think it's a completely fair and very likely outcome concern where, does this necessarily lead to a situation where it's like, Obsidian doesn't need as many combat designers. They should just rely on the people over at, that's right, Halo Studios. 343 is no longer around. They changed their name.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I did too, and someone chat pointed it out. Likely. We know that that layoffs have been a problem, and that they are apparently coming down the pike as well, again, for Microsoft, specifically for Xbox. And consolidation is clearly a factor there, although there's been a lot of companies that have not consolidated that have also had layoffs. Layoffs are just a part of all these companies for some reason. But that doesn't mean like this isn't the reason at Microsoft. It does seem to be the reason that they just have so many people and they don't feel like they need as many people, even though they're making a lot of video games. It's like, we can get more efficient, and that means fewer people at all these studios doing the same kind of job, which is unfortunate. I hope that this doesn't lead to that. I hope this just leads to better games, ideally.
Yeah.
Quick. Let's take a diverge path over here. System Shock 2 review started coming in this morning. It's got an 84 on OpenCritic. That's pretty solid. Eurogamer gave it a 4 out of 5. PC Gamer gave it an 85 out of 100. Tech Raptor gave it a 10. Let's see. CG Magazine gave it an 8 out of 10. And then Way Too Many Games gave it a 9 out of 10 and said, System Shock 2 is an all-time great, easily one of the most important games of all time, and Night Dive's 25th Anniversary Remaster Edition makes it a touch more accessible without ever gutting its core or anything that made it so cherished in the first place. The excellent core, gameplay, and stellar level design come together for an unforgettable experience. Furthermore, the fact it works shockingly well on a controller is already something worthy of a Medal of Honor for the studio. And that seems to be like one of the things in chat for people who are rightfully skeptical is, hey, this is a game that has a huge modding community. The game has been supported out the wazoo to make sure people could still play it. Are you just kind of packaging that all up and selling it to people for $30? And it's like, well, a little bit, because we have a lot of people from that community working on the game, which I thought was a fantastic answer. Yeah, that's the way to do that. Maybe that's why Night Dive does seem to stand out so much. But the other part of it is like there's some extra work into getting it to work on a controller so we can put it out on consoles and the Switch. It's like, oh yeah, or that it runs well on a Steam Deck, which is where I was like playing it a little bit as I was trying to get ready for that the GB plays. So yeah, I'm happy to see that this is well received, and it sounds about right to me. Is this something that you've ever played that you want to check out, System Shock 2?
Sadly, no. I've played a little bit of the System Shock 1 remake, and I really do like that.
It was impressive, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was great, and I mean, System Shock 2, the remake at least, like was gestating a little bit. Like I feel like it had more than a couple delays, and just to see it turn out well is just kind of a great story all around.
Yes.
One of my biggest blemishes as a gamer is that I've not really touched a lot of System Shock or BioShock. I think Infinite was the one I probably played the most, which I know I need to go back to play BioShock 1. But yeah, I mean, this is just good news all around. I'm glad good games are getting received for good people.
Exactly. That sounds great. All right, last handful of stories here. Peak is now already a 2 million seller. Boy, those prox chat multiplayer weird games with physics is a genre that just crashes straight to the moon every time it launches. And 2 million, it's been like been like a week, I think, a week or two or something like that. It rushed to 1 million after 6 days, says this story from Ben Lyons at Game Reactor, and now already at 2 million copies sold. Apparently, they started making this game in February. John,
that's nuts.
They started making this game in February. It's June, and they've sold 2 million copies. It's, I mean, boy, that is like a trend. The trend chasing can still work on the indie side of things. There's got to be one of these big companies looking at this and being like, what can we do with one of our games, with one of our IPs to do this? And I'm like, I don't know if that'll work, because part of the charm here is just these very animated characters that flop around. Although I bet Fortnite gets one of these from Epic within the next year or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I love these things. I think, they're streamer bait. But to me, it's like, it's friend slop. I think we used what we were calling it, which, I don't necessarily love saying that, but it's true. And I like just having these games where we can throw it on. The objective is sort of meaningless or optional to just goofing off. And then we have this platform where goofing off is the whole thing. So it all just kind of comes together really well. And then really it's like, oh, I get to play this game. I would have been like, oh, how do I get some friends to come play this with me if I wasn't doing this job? So now that I do have it, it's like fantastic, an excuse to go play every single one of these. And so far I've enjoyed quite a bit. And this Peak is one that like really has an idea there. The climbing is a really good idea. It's not just, diving into the depths to try to survive a run. Although all the Lethal Company likes have been good as well. It's like, this variation on prox chat, or the prox chat core, can work with a lot of different ideas, and Peak is proof of that. So I don't know. How do you feel about this genre as a whole, and about Peak in specifics?
I mean, there's nothing really not to love about this stuff. I love goofing up with friends.
Mm-hmm.
We like you said, Lethal League, Phasmophobia, I think is kind of like this to an extent.
For sure,
just a little bit more horror based. And now Peak doing well. Like I feel like that game just came out like a second ago, and it's already doing so well for them. I think the more of this, the better. I think, if this is like one of the big futures of indie gaming or PC gaming in general, bringing people together, that's just healthy, wholesome fun, man. Like I'm all about this. And it just seems like it's a really good time. The characters are super cute. I've been seeing a lot on YouTube Shorts about Peak, and it really does have my interest. Once my friends and I finally do that repo session, I can easily see us trying Peak next.
Yeah, Repo's probably my favorite one. That one's dang,
okay.
Yeah, it just was. It's so many good ideas of the weird haunted things and how they interact with you or cause you to do crazy stuff. That stream we did with Repo is one of my favorites ever. Always want to go back to it. So yeah, we'll see. These games, I don't think any of them that I could think of. Has Phasmophobia come out to console? Even if that has, it's like, I don't think Lethal Company has or anything like that. So it's like, man, is one of those going to make the leap, and will it work over there? I don't know.
Yeah, I want to say that they did finally do that. I think Phasmophobia had an update on Steam that did tie in with the console release. I don't know if that's crossplay or anything, but yeah, I think that did happen. It's weird, right? Like I feel like that PCs are a lot more accustomed to having these games kind of pop off because
Yes.
everyone has a different system, right? But like these kinds of games are always like pretty easy to run. You have that camera, you have that microphone all set up. Discord's right there. And like, yeah, PlayStation, Xbox have their own version of that. But it's just a bit more cumbersome to do that. Like I was playing Fortnite with a friend. I've been playing a good amount of Fortnite actually on Switch too, because it just runs pretty well there. I've been playing the Rock Band. Yeah, the Rock Band mode is, I pretty much play that every day. But like, yeah, like you're connecting through PlayStation chat or Xbox chat, whatever people are using. And it's just like, okay, like I'm talking through the system, but not in the game. So I got to turn my settings off. It just seems like it is a lot more streamlined, and just the people who play it on PC, I think, get it a lot quicker.
Yes.
And
it's an understood trend for sure. Yeah. Like it's like everyone gets what these are. And it's almost like you don't need to make the sales pitch with a game like this. It sells itself at a certain point where people understand they want these and they want more of them. And they're often $5 or like, God, which one of them was free for a day and everyone rushed to get it? I can't remember which one that was. I think.
It was that content warning, right?
Yeah, content warning. Yes, content warning was free for a day, and like 6 million people or something like that downloaded it immediately, and then it still sold like several million copies because there was just so much momentum there. Yeah, I'm into these. I hope we get a ton more. If this is like the current trend for this side of gaming for the next couple of years, I'll still be down. I love Prox Chat. I want to see what developers can do with it.
So yeah, same here.
Jack Black is going to reprise Officer Dick in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4. Yeah, I think also like they're going to kind of change the character a little bit. Officer Dick is no longer just a cop shouting at skaters in a high school, and is now the campus security sheriff of a college. So there you go. Jack Black, it's been a roller coaster, my relationship with him. I loved him early on. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Tenacious D. This is incredible stuff on HBO as a kid. Like, why is this guy taking a bullet for him and singing a song about it? Very cool. And then, I was like, okay, his shtick wore thin. And then I'm like, he's so earnest and fun, and he's got such good energy. Why am I being such a fuddy-duddy about Jack Black? I'm back into him. And then he was everywhere. And he's in every video game movie. And I'm like, I don't know if I need more Jack Black. And yet I see this. I'm like, good for him. Because I know he like legitimately likes games and legitimately cares about this. And that's one of the reasons that he does work in all these films, is because they know he'll understand it and he gets the idea. And maybe Minecraft, sure, that was a bit much. But, that sounds like that was a problem with that movie and not necessarily him. Nice to see Jack Black back, huh?
Yeah, I'm all for that. I think all returning characters, like any returning character you can get in these games, just is so good. It really does give you those vibes of back in the day. I mean, obviously those licensed characters are pretty difficult. Doomslayer, I guess, is the exception because same company. But yeah, I think this is good. There's definitely been a lot of Jack Black in recent memory, but
Correct.
I don't know. There's still such a big part of me that just really loves Jack Black. Oh, I'm having such memory fog right now. What's the one where he's teaching
School
class?
of Rock? He did School of Rock.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's bad, because that was really formative for me too. That and my dad, we watched that, and he just immediately taught me the guitar because I wanted to know. So,
oh, that's amazing. That's awesome.
But yeah, so I always have a soft spot for Jack Black. He's definitely feels like he has the Jack Black role, like people are writing the role for him. But for this, I think it's good. I also really like the change. There's just something funnier about being like an office security or like a campus guard or whatever. I think that's a lot funnier than just like, a cop.
Yeah.
Which is,
a cab, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
School of Rock is Richard Linklater. Yeah, Grant says same director as Boyhood. Same director as like 3 of the movies in my top 10. Grant, I think Everybody Wants Some, and the one other I can't remember. But yeah, I like School of Rock as well. All right, let's finish out the headlines. Gex Trilogy has finally been patched and works on Nintendo Switch 2.
Thank God.
Yes, so apparently it had like some issue where it was like Switch 2 specifically was a real problem. I enjoy that collection, mostly because it's like I can see where they did do the efforts of talking to Dana Gould and reverse engineering the controls to make them analog and making it native widescreen, so it's not just a hack and has like a weirdness to it. And I appreciate that stuff. That's the kind of stuff it's like, yeah, I could play Gex in a million other ways, but how are you going to make it special? And that feels like it made it special enough for me. The games did have some issues where it's like, is there input latency here? What's going on? Why does it feel a little funky compared to playing it in like Duck Station? And it does seem like they've been trying to address that, and hopefully they've completely fixed that up. And at the very least, the game now runs on Switch 2.
Yeah, and like for these retro game compilations, like a big part of it for me is the museum factor of like seeing what went into making these games. So I think that part is really cool, but also just like there's just something so right about it having it on the Steam Deck or the Switch. Like it is just kind of the perfect place. I'm popping in, kind of checking out, game here, game there. Those are my preferred platforms for these. So it not working on Switch 2 at the gate wasn't ideal. So I'm glad, you can actually buy it now on Switch 2.
All right, let's get to our poll question from yesterday. Have you ever played a game on Netflix or used Netflix's gaming service on phone? 27% said yes, 73% said no, which, for 4,000 votes here, 27% saying yes, I think is a pretty good chunk of change there. That's quite a few people, but maybe that's indicative of like, one thing that's probably our audience. We have talked about some Netflix games that like are exclusive to the phone that our audience would definitely care about before, whether that's the Golden Idol games or Into the Breach or whatever. Mike or Jan early on was talking about Point B. So maybe that's a reflection of that more than anything else. But let's say that this is the general ratio of like, if you ask someone who uses the Netflix app on their phone, have you played a game? 1 in 4 have. And yet that's not enough to make it worthwhile to Netflix so that they're dropping all the games, which is what brought up this poll question in the first place is like 20 of the games that they're bringing to phone, they're dropping from their service. And, some of them are big name games, things like that. So it's like, okay, this does feel like an initiative that they needed to grow into something much bigger than it felt like at first. Because I think one of the things we pointed to, John, was, hey, Google Stadia is such this big, ambitious thing. It can never work. It's so obvious that it's going to need so much that they're just not going to be willing to put into it. Netflix is starting small. Maybe that'll be the good, point of comparison of this is how you actually do it. Still sounds like maybe it didn't start off with small enough ambitions and it needed a level of support it just wasn't able to get. Did you ever play any games on Netflix on your phone?
Yeah, so I only did that because I didn't own either of the Golden Idol games. They're both fantastic on there. I mean, like any point and click sort of deal. I feel like it's kind of a natural fit for that, but that was just kind of out of the convenience. And then I think I played one of the Monument Valley games on there for a little bit, but it was kind of just a thing I'd just rather be playing it on my PC or something.
All right. We'll get to a new poll question here in a second. Before we do that, John Martin, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, all that good stuff?
Yeah. So, you can follow me on Blue Sky at johnmartin.bluesky. Whatever the rest of that is. My YouTube channel is High Score. I've been working on... I decided to rank every single Switch game, not realizing how long I can actually talk about that. Not like every Nintendo game, basically. And so I've been kind of editing that for a while. And then after a while, I decided to scrap the audio. So I'm starting that again, but there will be content on my channel soon. That's High Score. I think it's like J-Man Nintendo or something. I made it when I was like 12. I don't know. That's me.
Fantastic. We got a super chat here from Garwalk who says, super chatting to tell Grubb to catch the newest episode of Conan's podcast with Diego Luna. Includes beautiful convo about making Andor. You'll dig it. I will. I love Conan. I love Diego Luna, and I love that show. So yeah, I'll check that out. Thank you. I've always meant to listen to Conan's podcast. I never have. So maybe this is a good entry point. Yes,
I love it.
I've seen clips of it all the time, and it's like, oh, this looks fantastic. So yeah, I'll check that out. Thank you, Garwalk. I appreciate that. All right, new poll question. Do you believe Nintendo will release a Super Mario Maker 3 on Switch 2? Yes or no? I'm asking this because Reddit's been doing the thing where it's like, hey, you looked up one Super Mario Maker thing, so here's the Super Mario Maker Reddit and all they're talking about. And all of the posts in like the last 2 weeks from that Reddit have been, from that subreddit, have been a Super Mario Maker 3 is like a guarantee. And they're definitely going to do it. It sounds likely. In fact, it might happen before you even think it's going to happen. I'm like, where is this coming from? Because I'm skeptical. And I've said that before. It's like Super Mario Maker 2 sold 5 million copies. And that's a lot. But a lot of other games around it on the Switch at that time were selling way more than that. And Nintendo stopped supporting Super Mario Maker 2 in a way that felt like was abrupt. And I don't think that was because they're rushing to go work on Super Mario Maker 3. I think it was because, although, maybe at that time it was like, hey, we got the Pro coming. We're going to have the Joy-Cons that connect as mouse or something like that. And then that turned into the 2. Maybe that delayed 3. Who knows? No, my gut tells me that we weren't going to get another one of these. They've moved on. But I don't know. I'm hopeful. They're getting my hopes up in a way that I'm not excited about because it's like, God, I don't want to be disappointed because I want that game so bad. So, John, you think there's a chance we get Super Mario Maker 3 this generation? What are you thinking?
I think so. There's a part of me that hopes they do a Splatoon 3 where Splatoon 3, like, quote unquote, ended with that giant festival, like Splatfest. And then they're just bringing it back now that with a Switch 2, I guess, pseudo edition. It's like a patch, basically. I could easily see them updating that. Mario Maker 3, I think, still makes sense as a stopgap for the next huge 2D Mario game. Like, I think Wonder was just like, Wonder only happened because they made Mario Maker. So
yeah, maybe. Maybe that's like maybe that feeds back into 3 and they could put Wonder stuff into 3. I don't know.
That would be cool. I don't know. That'd be really hard to like fit in any of the Wonder Flower stuff. Like that sounds
the Wonder Flower stuff. Well,
crazy.
Unless it's like unless that becomes like the big feature of 3, right? And that applies to all the other ones. And but how do you design your own Wonders, or is it just like a grab bag? Who knows? Yeah, it's at the very least, the art style of 3 would look great in Mario Maker. I would like that. All right, let's see. We did that poll question. I think we got everything else out of the way. Let's talk about what is happening once we get the results of that poll question on Giant Bomb. And speaking of Giant Bomb, later today, voicemail dump truck. What else do we have going on? Voicemail dump truck with Abby Russell, it says here. Yeah. Abby, our returning champion, will be back on the show. Looking forward to that one. Let's see. And then, if you are a premium subscriber, if you are one of our members, if you did go to giantbomb.com/join and click that join button there that's now bigger on that page so people can find it more easily, you will be able to go into the Discord town hall today. We're going to be doing that at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Come hang out with us, ask us some questions. We'll get that out on the one of the feeds. I think Jan was talking about the GB Presents feed or something like that. But if you want to participate, you can do that today, 4 p.m. And then we're going to talk over the Capcom thing today. There's Capcom Showcase. We're not expecting huge, big announcements, but let's hang out, talk about Capcom. Sounds like a good time to me. All right. And then we'll be back tomorrow with GMM and all that other stuff. In the meantime, John Martin, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talk about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.